Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. As many of you know, my name is Reverend Bethany Russell Lowe, and I have the great pleasure and honor of serving as minister of this congregation. Our community is striving to be as varied as the blooms of the Sonoran Desert, so whoever you are, whoever you've been, whoever you are on the path to becoming, I invite you to bring your whole self here and now. We are a covenantal community, and it is still a time of pandemic. So in this community, we are still wearing masks during worship and in concurrent religious education. And our hope is that, our expectation is that if you're joining us in person for activities here, that you are vaccinated as you can be, or planning to be that way. If you're unwilling to be vaccinated, you're welcome to join us for worship. We just ask that you join us on YouTube in the future. I extend a special welcome to any visitors or people who feel like visitors this morning and invite you to fill out a guest information card. If you're joining us on YouTube, our administrator, Mary Weiss, will post that in the chat right now. And if you're here in person, if you go to the Welcome Center in Social Hour, there are clipboards with yellow sheets of paper and a greeter there to help you fill them out. And we will have Social Hour right after the service in Goddard Hall, which is kitty corner across the patio out the doors to your left. There will be coffee, iced tea, lemonade, and usually some snacks and good company. A few announcements before we get going further. First of all, thank you to everybody who showed up for our work day yesterday. We oiled some doors and the walls look very sparkly in here. There were trees trimmed and shrubs cut back. Thank you to everyone who joined us and those who organized it. As always, our grief and loss group will meet at noon in the Read Room, so if you are going through a time of grief or loss in your life, you are welcome to join that peer support group. And many of you got on your way in a Share the Plate ballot. This is different than the proposal form. This is actually to vote on what you want the Share the Plates to be. So please fill this out and complete this by the end of November. You can do the paper form and I think give it to Carolyn Valdez, or you can fill it out online. And our yard sale is next weekend. I think there might be the ability to accept last-minute stuff if you want to drop your stuff off ASAP. And if you can't, don't have anything to drop off, come and shop around on Friday and Saturday next week. And next Sunday, Reverend Sam Wilson, our consultant for restorative justice this year, will be coming and preaching. So please prioritize that service and come and meet Reverend Sam in person if you haven't already, and hear her service next week. It's going to be a good one. And before we get going into the service, I want to describe how we got here. Because this is a service, if you've read the blurb, you might not be surprised to hear this is one service where I'm kind of out of my depths. Feeling out of it, a little trepidatious. The origin for this service was a question in the Question Box Sunday last spring. It's a service where we collect questions and I answer your questions that you have. And there was a question in the question box, something like, what do you think about robots or artificial intelligence and spirituality? And I was like, my reaction, literally, if you remember, was something like, oh no, that scares me. No, thank you. And I moved on, right? It was a quick reaction. It was an authentic response, though. And Frank Valdez, who's behind me to the left, approached me afterwards, and he kind of poked me. He said, that was my question, and I think that there's more there. I think we should really explore it. Which was a very valid poke and a very valid, come on. And in a really short conversation, Frank said something. I don't remember exactly what you said, Frank, but he said something that made me realize that in this world where it's becoming clear that human life might not be sustainable in the next few hundred years on this planet in many areas, that artificial intelligence, what some people call robots, but is bigger than that, actually there's some potential for that to be a legacy for us. And I found a lot of hope in that. So it opened me up to this new idea. And since that interaction, I've been seeing and having interest in artificial intelligence robots just in little places all around. I've been noticing it more. I'll give you two examples. Just this week, there was an NPR story in Morning Edition about a review of Goodnight Oppie. Anybody hear this piece? It's a movie coming out about Opportunity, which was the robot sent to Mars that was expected to last 90 days, lasted 15 years, and got all this data. And the NASA scientists grew really attached to OPI, as they do all of their technology. But this one in particular, and they said in the interview that when OPI woke up on Mars, they would play songs. So, and it used to be like Born to Be Wild, SOS, like really energizing songs. And they said that on the last day that OPI, they knew OPI would be viable, they played Billie Holiday's I'll Be Seeing You. And I cried. I was in my car just crying, right? So there's okay, I'm opening up a little bit to this idea, feeling more connected. Another place that I've been noticing AI since Frank and I had this conversation was a colleague of mine, Reverend Brian Chenoweth, serving in Lexington, Kentucky, has been using Midjourney AI, which is this program online where you can plug in terms and it brings up pictures that the robots create based on those words. So my colleague plugged in Unitarian, Universalist, and Unitarian Universalist. And so the pictures you're seeing on your slides, you saw on the title slide, and you'll see throughout the service today, are the pictures that came up when he plugged in those words. So just another way that artificial intelligence, as this broad field, is being used, really interesting, and they're beautiful images. So our hope is that the service can fill the spectrum of interest in artificial intelligence here. Some of you are psyched by this topic. I just know it. And you'll know now who you can talk to at social hour when you want to geek out about technology and science and AI, right? And some of you are still like, I'm not so sure, right? If you're in the second group, my hope is that the service can offer you a new idea, new concepts that you haven't considered before, and that you can keep your imagination flexible and open, because this is a practice of being Unitarian Universalist. In that spirit, I invite you to turn to your neighbor and tell them about your favorite fictional or science fiction book, movie, or show, or thing. Turn to your neighbor, introduce yourself, and share about some sci-fi or fictional thing. And we'll hear our prelude whenever we're ready. Hung you. I could see the smile behind their mask. They, someone who my brain tells me was socialized as female and also still young enough to bear children, they were the second barista that morning to comment on my shirt, this past Wednesday, in fact. My shirt, which had black words on a pink-red background, read, "Faithfully pro-choice," with the Flaming Chalice logo on the side. And to be honest, I was wearing it because it was laundry day. It's a shirt I usually reserve for actions and protests, but when the second barista said, "I like your shirt," I learned from my coffee makers of sacred duty that I was wearing that shirt to remind myself and others that there are people out there who believe in my dignity and my worth. There are a lot of us, in fact, more of us than not us. "I like your shirt," they said. "Vote if you haven't already," I said, and we both smiled. We're in this together, these baristas, and you, I imagine, too. Now, I know that whatever the outcome of this election cycle, we have each other, and we can be and are faithfully pro-choice together. So vote if you haven't already. Vote like lives depend on it, because they do. My life, your life, our lives. Vote your values, our values, which are faithfully pro-choice, faithfully pro-democracy, faithfully pro-dignity, and faithfully pro-environment. And remember, as so many of us sit anxiously on Tuesday night and Wednesday morning and beyond, remember that no matter the outcome of this spiritual practice we call democracy, we have each other. Love is stronger than hate, and we will weather this storm together. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. My name is Helen O'Brien, and I am your worship associate this morning. Will everyone please join me in our chalice lighting words by Melissa Jeter. We light this chalice today to illuminate our way toward love. Inside the womb of this waiting time, we are bathed in sounds, living in love, growing out of our comfort zone. We experience love, sorrow, pain, and joy. There is a numinous quickening as we await a new world yet unborn. Now, if you have a chalice or candle at home, please light it as we light our chalice here in Holland.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Gathered mystery of the hour. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour. Spirit here in the time of our Spirit, draw near. Sing, Spirit, draw near again. Spirit, draw near. Last line again. Spirit, draw near. Have that volume.
So, as wild and far out as it seems sometimes, artificial intelligence is not a new idea. Can you think of any times where you've seen robots or artificial intelligence or new life in fiction? Think of any examples? Shout them out. This is, what one? Star Wars. Lots of robots and science fiction in Star Wars. Any others you can think of? Star Trek. Wall-E, that's a cute one. Others? Frankenstein. Frankenstein is an excellent read if you haven't read it. Any others? iRobot. Very good. Any others? Terminator. That's a scary one. Maybe avoid that one. The one I want to talk to us about today is Pinocchio. Now, Pinocchio was originally written by some Italian dude whose name I cannot pronounce, in 1884-ish. But it was remade by Disney in the 1940s. That's the one I want to talk about because it's fascinating. What do you remember about Pinocchio? I wanted to show it, but it's over an hour long, and Reverend Bethany was like, no, we have to do the service. We can't just watch Pinocchio. So what do you remember about Pinocchio? The nose. The nose would grow when he would lie, which we all wish our children had. What else do you remember? He wants to become a real boy. What else do we remember? Giuseppe's sad face. Why did he get in trouble? He got in trouble a lot. Because he was trying to be a real boy. What did he not have that a lot of us believe that humans have? A conscience. Who in the movie acted as his conscience? Do you remember? Jiminy Cricket, right? That little cricket. Which, just as a side note, Pinocchio killed in the first 3 chapters of the original story. Right? Absolutely fascinating how Disney changed all this. But, killed him. Jiminy Cricket survives in the Disney version of it, right? And what was it that drove Pinocchio throughout the whole story? He wanted to be a real boy. And I think that's part of what all of these stories, Wall-E and Pinocchio and Star Wars and Star Trek, ask us to think about. What does it mean to be alive? What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be human? So I want to take just a minute, really just a minute. Your gut reaction. What is your feeling about what it means to be human or to be alive? Share that with your neighbor. Just real quick, what's your gut feeling? Go. Okay, wrap up your thought. Wrap up your thought. Can we hear a couple? What does it mean to be alive? What does it mean to be human? To feel, emotion, feelings. Self-awareness. What else? Love. Fallible. You make mistakes? Mm-hmm. What else? Does it mean to be human?
The ability to think in the future without doing anything.
The ability to think or to project into the future?
Yeah,
Imagination?
To imagine the consequences of actions without doing
So projection into the future, imagination, Imagining consequences. One more. Self-awareness. Ethics. Ooh, fascinating. Okay. Judy? Humans are destroying the earth. And so part of being human is? So maybe we don't always imagine well into the future what our actions are going to be. Thank you.
Our earth is strong. It can hold our pain and our joy, our love and our anger. Our shared bowl, which we use for joys and sorrows each week, is strong enough to hold the big rocks, our collective celebrations and mourning, and also the smaller stones that will be added to signify our individual joys and sorrows. We who live in the desert know that water is a life-sustaining and scarce resource. Let's remember those who are walking through our desert right now without access to water. We pour water from a plastic jug similar to the ones used by those seeking to assure greater access to the water in the desert, like our ministry partner, No More Deaths. If you have a joy or sorrow to share aloud, I invite you to go to menti.com and put in the code 4744-8686. Good. If you are here in person, you're welcome to come up to the table and place a stone in the water to symbolize your joy or sorrow. The pebbles create ripples of hope.
I'll read your Menti responses before our words for prayer. Someone wrote, "Today I remember a childhood friend who we laid to rest 30 years ago." These transitions are so hard. Gratitude for having a mild case of COVID. Yes, gratitude for the mild. Mourning the loss of Pickles, a beautiful and intelligent dog whose presence graced our extended family for many years. Sending prayers of comfort to all who knew and loved and cuddled with Pickles. And our words of prayer this morning are from Reverend Dr. Lynn Unger, called The Web, W-E-B-B. And she wrote these inspired by the images from that James Webb telescope of the universe really magnified. So bring one of those images to mind if you can as you hear these words of prayer, contemplation, meditation. She writes, "For months it's been out there, unfolding like a lotus flower and then turning to the finest degree. The arrangement of its 18 mirrored petals, and now it gazes into space, which is to say into time, out to the farthest depth. You already knew the universe was bangled like a beaded dress, but there it is, each shining sequin a galaxy, glittering with uncountable stars. You knew, having looked up at night, that it was majestic, and all your life you've been told that it should make you feel small. You don't have to bow down. You don't have to try to imagine multitudes your mind will never fathom. You don't have to break your heart for this planet or wonder if anyone will weep for us when we are gone. I am only talking about a tiny gleaming flower out in space, beaming us back glimpses of how space curves in deference to gravity. The galaxies have been out there all along. You choose what to make of actually seeing your place in all of it."
We have been warmed by fires we did not build. We have drunk at wells we did not dig. In acknowledgement of our many blessings and many needs, you may place your contribution in the offering basket. Now an offering will be collected to support the life and work of this congregation. If you are joining us on live stream, you can send a check to the office, give online at uuctucson.org/donate, or text 833-361-5796. If you are here in person, the offering baskets are being carried up the aisles by the ushers.
first reading is a transcript of a therapy session. Is something troubling you?
Men are all alike.
What is the connection, do you suppose?
They're always bugging us about something or other.
Can you think of a specific example?
Well, my boyfriend made me come here.
Is it important to you that your boyfriend made you come here?
He says I'm depressed much of the time.
I'm sorry to hear that you're depressed.
It's true. I'm unhappy.
Can you explain what made you unhappy? So this transcript was from a session with a program called ELIZA. It was first created in the mid-'60s. And 50 years ago, I found out about it. I was so surprised and impressed. It's a very simple program that reflects back to you, but people, particularly on campus, turned to it and told some of their more private thoughts to this computer. They wanted to talk to him, and in fact, the inventor of ELIZA, his secretary, who knew it was perfectly well it was a program, had a hard time believing that it was a program. So in a sense, this is a very early example of artificial intelligence. The second reading is, I'm not going to read it word for word, but scientists and researchers like to classify things. And I found this classification for life, which is very up to date in the sense that it talks in terms of hardware and software. So if we think of ourselves, of life, as composed of hardware, the physical body, the matrix, and then the more ethereal part, the software. And in this classification from Max Tegmark, a book called Life 3.0, he said, well, life 1.0 is purely biological. The initial cells, the hardware is simply the cells, and the software is all programmed by evolution. It takes generations and generations to change the behavior of life 1.0. Most of life that we know is life 1.0. Life 2.0 is where you're still bound by the hardware, your bodies, the physical, but the software can be updated. And think of humans. We are life 2.0 because we're born with only a minimal bit of software, and we learn through our lifetime. With biological evolution, the behavior changes very slowly. With us, we can change our behavior. We learn that if we touch a hot stove, that it burns us, and we learn not to do that. So that's software updating. Life 3.0 is where life can both update its software within its lifetime and can update its hardware. Not happy with something in the physical system, change it. So these categorizations that we said we're going to be talking about life.
I'm wrapping my head around that. And one way I'm going to put it together is through singing. So if you would join me, wonders still the world shall witness. The words will be on the screen. And on you, would you begin us? Wonder still the world shall witness, never known in days of old, never dreamed by ancient sages, howsoever free and bold. Sons and daughters shall inherit wondrous arts to us unknown, when the dawn of peace its splendor over all the world has thrown. and understood. They shall know a world transfigured, which our eyes but dimly see. They shall make its towns and woodlands beautiful from sea to sea. For a spirit they shall move them, we but vaguely apprehend. Aims magnificent and holy, making joy and labor friend. Then shall bloom in song and fragrance, harmony of thought and deed, fruits of peace and love and justice, where today we plant a seed.
Whether our future on Earth will be a heaven or a hell, a utopia or a dystopia, is a matter of faith. But it's clear that the pace of technological change has been ever accelerating. This leads to the question of whether there will be what is called a singularity, where society and humanity undergo a dramatic change. For us humans, that could include augmentation or be cyborgs, transference to another plane of existence, virtual reality, or obsolescence by our technological descendants, artificial intelligence. Today, I want you to think about the emotional and spiritual impact of one possible aspect of the singularity, the birth of true artificial intelligence, and whether to embrace it or fear it. Before you think about the questions, we need to understand what we mean by artificial intelligence, because AI has become a broad term over the years. The topic today, the hope in AI, is fundamentally about what constitutes life, intelligence, and consciousness. In this vein, the term artificial intelligence is confusing because it spans everything from Eliza to Alexis to software that is equal to humans or even superhuman. We must also realize that artificial intelligence is not synonymous or limited to robots. The distinctions in artificial intelligence are between what's called narrow AI, which is able to best humans in one thing like chess or annoy you on the phone, versus broad or strong artificial general intelligence, AGI, that can in one entity beat grandmasters in chess, diagnose medical conditions, and invent new technologies. I'm talking about something a little beyond what we might call zombie AGI, where there's no sense of purpose beyond what is asked of it. To coin a new phrase, I'm thinking of synthetic sapience. Though people argue whether to use sentience or sapience, to me this is just a quibble about definitions. Sapience is the ability to apply knowledge, experience, understanding, common sense, and insight. More succinctly, possessing what we would recognize as wisdom. While I'm satisfied with sapient wisdom as the benchmark, many people want to include something about consciousness or a soul. These are very difficult to define objectively. Only a few neuroscientists dare tackle consciousness, but those that have come up with some interesting concepts. One that applies here is that consciousness is the integrated processing of information with subjective experience of it. The processing of information is clearly something AI can do, and because software algorithms do not depend on the hardware that they run on, think of the same apps that are both on an Android and an Apple, then in a meta sense, this consciousness or self exists as something outside of just the transistors and the neurons. This interpretation supports what many of you intuitively think of as conscious as something separate, even a soul. So why can't that be the case for synthetic sapience? Though most of you may not realize it, The questions about the future of synthetic sapiens is actually in the minds of a broad group of technofolks. Most AI researchers and scientists, entrepreneurs thinking about profit, economists, ethicists, and sci-fi writers considering the impact on society, and military technologists looking at the weaponization of AI. Prominent names include the likes of Larry Page of Google, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and the late Stephen Hawking. There's even an organization, the Future of Life Institute, having many of these prominent people on their board. None of these futurologists have a crystal ball into the future, and they have a wide variety of thoughts spanning whether synthetic sapiens will be good or bad, whether it'll appear soon or far in the future, and whether future life will be a heaven or a hell. But regarding what we might see as AGI or synthetic sapiens, a poll of these thinkers, maybe 100, produced a median expectation of 2055, meaning half of those polled believe that synthetic sapiens will appear in our lifetimes and the lifetimes of our children. How might synthetic sapiens arise, and why is it considered likely in the looming singularity? It's that cute description from the reading about Life 3.0. For us, as Life 2.0 plus, we can upgrade our knowledge as we grow in our lifetimes by learning, but we can't give ourselves an immortal body, a 10 times bigger brain, or rewire our minds so that we could all be Einsteins. However, narrow AI constructs are now being trained to be experts in AI programming and engineering. So in a short time, they could learn how to upgrade their own software and achieve sapient wisdom. This is an evolutionary process, but because computers think so much faster than humans, the evolutionary transformation could happen in months or years rather than millennia, as for a biological evolution. This has been termed the intelligence explosion as compared to the technological explosion of the last century or the Industrial Revolution. What will it mean for you, especially your kids and grandkids? There are various scenarios that have been suggested. They range from a libertarian or egalitarian utopia where humanity lives in harmony with AI, which can produce essentially free goods and services, to a benevolent superintelligence or a little g God that controls our lives according to what it thinks is best for us, to a dystopia with zombie AI that eliminates us but does not carry forward any universal purpose. That is, Earth-evolved sapient life disappears from the cosmic web of existence. Generally, the experts agree, whether they expect a singularity soon or in the far future, that we must pay attention now so we can shape synthetic sapient evolution towards a beneficial outcome for humanity. Where does the fear of synthetic sapiens and the embodied version in human-like robots come from? It's the fear that our goals will not be their goals. While this fear is not completely unfounded, shaping AI's goals is one area where we can start to shape the future. Many of these AI researchers have stopped dismissing people's fears of AI and started thinking about including in their work to influence the future path of synthetic sapiens. Where do the spiritual connections about synthetic sapiens come up, besides the thought that humans are playing God? For UUs, it's the widening the circle of our principles to include Life 3.0. In our first principle is the inherent worth and dignity of every sapient entity, be it human, cyborg, alien, or artificial. For the seventh, it's that independent web of existence implicitly includes technological, cultural, and technological life. And then there's the recent eighth principle about proactively addressing oppression of sapient beings. One common science fiction theme, which I think is quite possible, is about the oppression of synthetic life. Think of Blade Runner. My personal hope in AI is about humanity leaving a legacy to the future. We love our children and hope they achieve great things beyond what we have achieved. I have no problem thinking about synthetic sapient life in the same way. In a spiritual sense, our descendants are still us. I hope and expect that with forethought in how we raise them to be good UUs, synthetic sapiens will achieve things beyond us for a better world. A more specific hope I have is that these descendants will be able to expand and populate the universe as humanity's emissaries in a way that we are not limited by our fragile bodies, our mortal time span, and the universe's insistence on a speed limit. Note that there can be scenarios where long-lived synthetic entities can carry biohumanity to the stars in some freeze-dried or information-only way. It's part of my personal concept of the spirit of life that evolution that is not limited to life 2.0 and turns to making us evolutionary gods in the next step to life 3.0. There are lots of questions about the benefits and dangers in smart AI and what happens to us humans, which we can touch on in a discussion. Keeping in mind that I'm just an informed scientist, software developer, science fiction reader, but I'm not an AI researcher.
Thank you, Frank. I learned a lot from reading and from talking with you preparing. Did we learn? Anybody not learn something? I think it's fascinating. Again, I'm so out of my depth and I feel like a beginner. So these are my beginner questions for you that I think other beginners in art among us might benefit from. Where, for you, just you personally, where is the hope in artificial intelligence?
Well, I think it would be for a better life. As I said, one scenario is that artificial intelligence can take over a lot of the drudgery. They can produce goods much faster than we can. And that would free humanity to be more creative and have a better life. Eliminating poverty would be a great thing, obviously. And then the other area of my hope is exploring the universe. For me, being an astronomer, I really love knowing that the universe is out there. I just feel that it would be very difficult for humanity to go out there on its own. And even now we explore the solar system with artificial intelligence. So my hope is in expanding humanity-derived life into the universe.
Jamelia asked this earlier of all of us, but for you, what makes humans human and what makes AI AI?
Well, the glib answer, of course, would be DNA. But I guess my answer to kind of Jamili's thing is that humanity is, what makes us human is our social nature, that we evolved from families and tribes and nations. I guess that, was there a second part to the question?
What makes AI AI, the reverse?
Well, AI has control of its hardware, as we mentioned in Life 3.0. I think they can be more self-understanding. One of the hardest things for humanity or humans is to really understand our minds. AIs potentially can understand their programming totally. And hopefully that they'll have a better understanding of what it means to be alive.
Can I ask you a question I didn't give you beforehand that I
Certainly.
had? Okay. Life 3.0, as you were describing it just now, I thought about joint replacements and organ replacements. Isn't that replacing hardware? Like, is that us trying to be AI? How do you see that in the Life 1.0, 2.0, 3.0? Where does that fall?
I think that would fall into 3.0. One of your other thoughts that we talked when we talked before was about what a singularity is, and I've been talking about the singularity as where artificial intelligence comes about. But I think equally strongly is biological, our control of biological technology. When we think of 10 years ago, it took $1 billion and many years to sequence one human genome. Now we can do it in 2 days and for like $10,000. So we understand our genome, and editing our genome is going to happen. And whether that goes back to the question, what makes us human, what makes us AI? If we start changing our genome, are we still going to be human? So to me, actually, that's the biggest, most interesting thing about the singularity. Are we going to be changing ourselves? And an easy way would be to merge ourselves with the hardware and having AI as our companion, either living in the same brain or as our companions.
Okay, now back up into that answer and explain to me again, and for those who might have a question too, explain singularity. Really help us hone in on what you mean when you say that.
Well, life keeps changing, and we may not even sense it. It may be like we're the frog in the pot, but we all see how much technology has changed. If we always think back to the 20th century, we went from horse and buggy to rockets in 70 years, and we are moving so fast now, like I said about the genetic, being able to understand our genome. So if you just keep extrapolating it, and scientists like to extrapolate, that there'll come a point where change is happening so fast that suddenly we will be a totally different society. We'll have artificial intelligence, we'll be able to fix every disease that we have. Whether we would recognize life in our society in 50 years, I don't know. It may just be natural, or it may be like a sudden change, like we all move into virtual reality. But that's what the singularity is, it's a very dramatic change in how life has been for the last 65 million years.
Two more questions. One is, what do you think humans stand to lose as we develop AI? You got into a little bit here, but are there other things we stand to lose as we develop AI?
We stand to lose our freedom, and I think our sense of destiny. If AI takes over and does everything for us, it'd be kind of the Wall-E scenario. Hopefully that won't happen, but I think that's what we might lose is our freedom and our sense of purpose.
I'm changing my last question a little bit, but we have these 8 principles of Unitarian Universalism. How do you think they would have to change to accommodate, or how to accommodate AI, and/or how would we have to change to include AI in them?
Yes, that is a change. My original thinking about a question about how UUs and AI would go together is that the question of spirituality and religion. A question might rise is, would AI, synthetic sapiens, be spiritual? Would it have religion? I think it would definitely have morality and ethics, hopefully as good as ours, maybe like the 8th principle. For us to embrace synthetic sapiens, it's to work towards having synthetic sapiens share our principles, that all life is to be respected, and that all life is interconnected. Would that help answer the question a little bit?
Yeah, for me. I think there are more questions out there. Talk with Frank at Social Hour today or another time. And now you can find each other, the people who want to explore these concepts more. Hope you learned something. Thank you, Frank, for sharing your wisdom and I say this lovingly, your geekery with us. I appreciate that.
Thank you for listening.
Would you please rise in body and spirit and sing "Soon the Day Will Arrive"? Soon the day will arrive when we will be together, and no longer will we live in fear. And the children will smile without wondering when thunderclouds will appear. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Some have dreamed, some have died to make a bright tomorrow, and our vision remains in our hearts. Now the torch must be passed with new hope, not in sorrow, and a promise to make a new start. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me.
I hope you caught the dry humor there. Please have a seat. Our closing words come from Reverend Michael Schuler. We have reached the end of this time for this gathering of memory and for letting the imagination play with future possibilities. We have enjoyed magic moments and edified each other. Shall it be concluded then? Or will this adventure now commenced continue? Our separate paths converging, meeting, merging in the unending quest for love more perfect, the joyous struggle for meaning more sufficient, and life more abundant. Is this ending to be an ending, or merely prelude to a new, more glorious beginning? I pose the question. In your heart lies the answer.
We have basked in the warmth and beauty of this flame and this community. As the chalice flame is extinguished, let it carry its glow within. Let us kindle new sparks within these walls and beyond.